Hello guys, welcome to the first lecture of a Cursor for Beginners course, and in this video we'll talk about what is Cursor and we'll also see how it compares with VS Code. Okay, so let's start. So Cursor is more than just a code editor. It's basically a lot of AI things that you as a user of the Cursor can do on top of VS Code. This is how I generally think about it. Okay, we'll also learn in this video how it fits into our daily coding workflows, like how we do the things in our daily coding like debugging and maybe documentation and all those stuff. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's understand what is Cursor. So basically, like I said, it's a desktop code editor built on top of open source VS Code. So VS Code is basically open source, and what Cursor team did, they basically forked this repository of VS Code, and they did a lot of changes that helped people like us use the AI powers inside a code editor. It keeps all the VS Code basics, like it has all the VS Code. It's like it looks exactly like VS Code, and then you can do like the navigation that happens in VS Code, or basically the extensions that you install in VS Code. All of these things you can do in Cursor as well. Cursor adds smart AI features for writing, refactoring, and explaining code. So this is how you generally think about the Cursor. Is basically VS Code, and there is an AI layer that Cursor team has built on top of the VS Code. Okay. Now we'll talk about the AI power that Cursor gives to us as a code editor. It can generate code by from just plain English, right? So if you just type like, hey, develop a Flask application for me. E-commerce Flask based application, it will just it will ask some questions to you, and then basically what will happen, you have a basically a simple e-commerce application ready with you. Okay, it provides context aware completions and inline explanations. So what it means is basically if you're writing something, you're trying to write some code, and then what will happen, it will give you a lot of hint around and it's just not autocomplete. It's not about autocomplete, but it's like block of code that it can give as a hint to you from all the training on different coding data sets that it has done upon. Okay, then supports automatic refactoring and bug fixing through just a simple plain English. You can just say, hey, refactor this file, refactor this feature, and you can ask also like, hey, fix this bug, and Cursor will try its best to do the job, right? It works like a coding partner instead of a passive tool, right? So earlier what used to happen, basically if you're inside a VS Code, you can get all those auto hintings, small, and then linting errors, all of these things you could have fixed with VS Code. But now what happens is basically a coding partner is there right sitting beside you, right? So you ask them, hey, do this job for me, in plain English, and it will do the job for you, okay? Let's understand the very important thing that we have to understand in Cursor is basically, since a lot of AI is kind of involved, we have to understand like how the models work behind the scenes, right? So what happens is basically Cursor as a code editor built on top of VS Code, it connects to these LLMs, right? Different large language models like GPT-5, GPT-4o, Claude, Gemini, or Oreo on as well, right? You can also host a local model using Ollama. We'll not be doing that in this course, at least. Maybe in a later future video we'll do that, but it connects to those LLMs to kind of help you in coding using those AI assistants or LLMs, right? And these models are basically designed to do different jobs, right? So it really depends upon what you need: speed, or maybe accuracy, or maybe you need privacy, and you don't want a lot of code of your repository or your company's repository code to be exposed to those LLMs. So depending upon, some models give you a lot of privacy around this, right? So you can do those things as well. We'll talk about this maybe later, like which LLM is suited for what thing. But for now, it's just that LLMs are basically the backbone of Cursor's AI powers, right? And privacy basically mode ensures that nothing leaves your machine, right? So you are interacting with the Cursor, that is fine, but outside that, nothing should be exposed to other AI or other LLMs, right? So this is what about it. When we talk about a model, this is the kind of things that we look at: performance, privacy, accuracy, and cost, right? Okay, why should we care about Cursor? So basically it saves time on boilerplate and routine tasks, not routing tasks, it's routine tasks, right? So boilerplate basically means that, hey, just very quickly set up an application using Next.js for me, right? So you just pass this command, or you just pass this comment to Cursor's chat, and it will do that for you. Also, a lot of routine tasks like what do you call, maybe documentation, and then maybe some small refactoring, right? So you don't have to do that. Cursor can do this for you. It debugs and restructure code with fewer headaches and improves clarity with instant explanations. So basically, you can just select a line of code and ask Cursor to give me the explanation for this. And that way you can very quickly learn a tech stack as well, right? Keeps code bases clean and maintainable, right? So once you are building a feature, and because there was very less time, so you wrote code very quickly. But then what you can ask Cursor, hey, this is the code I've written, please help me in refactoring this. So it can do the refactoring work for you as well, and generate a lot of documentation, generate a lot of inline comments and everything for you. It lets us focus on more on problem solving, less on grunt work, right? So this is the kind of work that is grunt work, right? Grunt work is basically generating the documentation, writing documentation for a function. All this work you can basically give it to Cursor and it will do it for you. And you can focus more on the business rules, the core features that your PM or product manager or your manager is asking to do for you. You can focus more on that. Think about like what specific business rules, what domain rules you need to apply there, and you can just work with your AI powered coder like Cursor to do the grunt work for you. Okay. And compared to VS Code, which is usually how we used to do, it was like very manual and tedious. And imagine like if you have to set up an XJS application using the VS Code, then what you will do, you will look at a lot of documentation, scrape through it, figure out what commands work for you, install a lot of packages in your terminal and stuff. It was very tedious. It was very manual, right? With AI powered AI powered editor like Cursor, you can just ask Cursor to do this for you, and it will be very smooth, it will be very fast, and it will be like done in a very small amount of time as well. Okay, then let's compare between what VS Code gives us and Cursor gives us in terms of different features. So if you think about refactoring, doing refactoring in the VS Code, it was like very manual. Then you again have to generate new test cases based on that. With Cursor, you can just pass a command, it will do it in 1 minute. Right. Similarly, about debugging, you have to do a lot of trial and error, basically write print statements or maybe put breakpoints and all those things. And then you will debug maybe in like 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours, depending upon your speed and how much you know about the tech stack, how much you know about the programming language and all those things. It will take a lot of time, right? With Cursor, what you can do, let's say you figure out that, hey, maybe inside this function or inside this file, the error is causing, you can just select this file and ask Cursor to, hey, this is the bug I'm facing. Can you identify maybe in which line it's causing me the error? So Cursor will just give it to you. Right. So documentation, you would have to type manually a lot of comments and all. With Cursor, you can just ask, hey, generate documentation for these functions or generate documentation for this file itself, like what this file is doing, and it will just do it for you very fast, quickly. Navigation in VS Code, what you used to do, you can just search for something and it generally does a literal search. Literal search, basically, it goes through all the files or whatever indexing that has happened across all the files and will try to match string literal wise, right? But with Cursor, it also has a semantic search, right? Semantic search is basically your AI knows which file is specific to what kind of things that it is doing, right? So you can also ask things like this, hey, where is the code for throwing this error when customer does this, right? So you can ask in this kind of a plain English, and Cursor will tell you, hey, these are the files that are kind of impacting this kind of a feature, right? Then version control, you would have a Git panel and you will work with Git panel, and sometimes you also need to write a lot of commands in VS Code to do the version control system. With Cursor, it can generate the commits for you, it can stage all the files for you, it can push the all the changes to a remote repository just by telling the Cursor that, hey, analyze the changes that I've done in this commit and create a very professional and neat commit message for me, and let's push these changes to the GitHub. Right, so you are now able to understand, right, between a editor like how we used to do code before and now with an AI powered editor, things has become so fast, right? Now let's go ahead, and the core features that Cursor gives to us is, first is definitely AI powered code completion. So for example, once you open a directory in Cursor, what happens is Cursor is aware of all the project details and what you are building around it. It kinds of build an index around it, and then when you just ask for it, hey, let's implement the auth feature now. So it has all those awareness about your project, and based on the file structure architecture that you're following, it will try to create or build the auth feature for you very quickly. Natural language to code, this is very interesting. For example, if you're building a prototype or a proof of concept, it's very easy now. You can just say that, hey, let's build an application of a library management system. You will just say this, and Cursor will ask you a few questions like what framework you want to use, what you want to do, and it will just build it very quickly. Okay, so in editor, chat with project awareness. So there is an interesting chat feature in Cursor, like we have seen in a Google Gemini course as well, that inside the editor there is chat feature, and you can basically, the chat feature is basically a way of you communicating with the Cursor, and Cursor is basically your coding partner, and it can do the work for you, right? Then smart debugging and automation via agent mode. So there is two kind of chat modes in Cursor. One is the agent mode, and three kinds of chat mode actually: agent mode, ask mode, and manual mode. In the agent mode, Cursor behaves more like an agent. We have discussed what agent means in our Google Gemini course, so feel free to watch that course as well. That is also a very complete Google Gemini code assist course. And you can do basically what an agent can do, right? Agent is like a super smart person, a super smart intern that does a lot of coding for you, and it also understands the business rule, domain rules, what we are trying to say. It iterates on that and then try to generate the code for you, right? Now, very interestingly, who is using Cursor today? Almost all the top tech firms: Stripe, OpenAI, Rippling, Figma, Adobe. They all are using Cursor, and teams also use it for large projects and daily coding purposes, or building some new feature, or basically starting with a small project or some POC, or even in hackathons and all those things. Cursor is being used a lot in today's world. Okay. Now in the next video, this is it for this video. In the next video, we'll talk about actually setting up the Cursor, and if you have been using VS Code, then it will be very easy for you to setting up Cursor. We'll also try to import the settings that we have in VS Code to Cursor, so that our Cursor looks a lot like how our VS Code is, and then we'll start get a feel around like how the editor of Cursor looks like. This was again a very theoretical video, but these are very important things that you really need to nail down on the basics of like what Cursor is, and why you are using Cursor, why people are using Cursor. And that's how I structure my course. I give a lot of theory before, and then eventually what you feel like, hey, it's too easy now, right? If you straight away dig into Cursor, then it will be a very overwhelming for you. But going through a lot of theory concepts and then digging into that editor or the actual tool or implementation execution, it becomes very easy. Okay, so that's it for this video, guys, and I will see you in the next video where we'll start setting up the Cursor. Okay, bye.